Welcome back to NFL Nexus, everyone. All right, we have got a huge one to break down today. Every so often a deal comes along in the NFL that feels different, a franchise-altering move. And that's exactly what we thought we had with John Harbaugh and the New York Giants. The reports were flying, the ink was practically dry, fans in New York were celebrating, and then just nothing. Total silence. So today, we're going to pull back the curtain and really dig into the blockbuster deal that was supposed to be a sure thing and now has the entire league asking questions. And it all kicked off with this. I mean, look at it. One single emoji posted to the world from the New York Giants' official social media account, the smirk. In today's NFL, this is as good as a press release. This was the team's way of winking at the entire fan base, basically screaming, "We did it! We got our guy!" You can just imagine the excitement, right? This wasn't just a rumor anymore. This felt like the official, unofficial confirmation. An entire fan base started dreaming of a new era of dominance, all because of this one little emoji. But that was days ago. And in the 24/7 news cycle of the NFL, a few days can feel like an eternity. The podium for that introductory press conference is still sitting in a closet somewhere. There's been no official statement, no pictures of him holding up a jersey. The contract, the most important part, isn't signed. And so the question that every single Giants fan, and frankly every football fan, is asking is the exact same one we're going to try and answer in this explainer. What on earth is the whole? To really get to the bottom of this, we've got to rewind a little bit. We need to go back to the moment the news first broke. We have to look at what was being reported, why everyone was so ready to celebrate, and then pinpoint the exact moment when all that noise and excitement just stopped. Let's trace the steps from celebration to complete confusion. The first thing you have to wrap your head around is the sheer size of this thing. The number that was being thrown around everywhere was $100 million over 5 years. Think about that for a second. That's $20 million a year. This wasn't just the Giants hiring a new coach. This was a monumental franchise-defining investment. A price tag that big is a statement. It tells the locker room, the fans, and the rest of the league, this is our guy and we are all in. Which, of course, makes the sudden silence and the lack of a signature all the more confusing. You don't put that kind of money on the table and then just let things go quiet.
And this is really where the mystery begins. After the initial reports blew up, after that smirk emoji sent the internet into a frenzy, the Giants organization just went dark. Radio silent. The front office clammed up. No leaks, no sources say, nothing. And if there's one rule in the NFL, it's that a vacuum of information never stays empty for long. It gets filled fast with speculation, with rumors, and for the fan base, a whole lot of anxiety. The silence itself became the story.
So, okay, the initial buzz is gone. The celebration has turned into nervous speculation. Now we have to put on our detective hats. It's time to dig deeper than the headlines and the big money figures to try and find the real source of this delay. There are clearly cracks forming in what was supposed to be a rock-solid contract. Let's find out where they are. Naturally, when a $100 million deal hits a snag, the first place your mind goes is the money, right? It's the most common reason for any contract dispute. You start thinking, maybe Harbaugh's agent is trying to squeeze out a few extra million, or maybe the Giants' ownership is getting cold feet, looking at that massive number and starting to second-guess themselves. It's a logical assumption. But from everything we're hearing from the insiders, that's not it at all. This isn't about the money. And thanks to some incredible reporting from guys like ESPN's insiders and Ian Rappaport at NFL Network, the real picture is starting to come into focus. So let's be really clear here. This standoff, it is not about the salary. It's not about the total $100 million value. And it's not even about who gets the final say on drafting a player or signing a free agent. The real battle, the thing holding this entire deal up, is much more fundamental. It's about the reporting structure. It's about the entire organizational setup. Or, as Rappaport so perfectly put it, it all comes down to the simple but incredibly complex question of who can do what. This is a power struggle, plain and simple.
You hear this phrase thrown around a lot by insiders, organizational and operational issues. It sounds kind of vague and corporate, but what they're really talking about is the absolute blueprint of how a team is run. We're talking about the flow chart, who reports to whom, where does the head coach's authority end and where does the general manager's begin, who has the final word on the training staff or the scouting department. So when you hear this term, don't think about dollars and cents. Think about power, control, and territory within the front office.
All right, so now that we've established that this whole thing is about power and the internal structure of the team, we can really start to zoom in on the heart of the conflict. It's not some vague disagreement. It revolves around one key relationship and one very specific, very important person in the Giants organization. And before we go on, if you're enjoying this deep dive, make sure you hit that subscribe button for NFL Nexus and like the video. It really helps the channel out. Let us know in the comments what you think is going to happen with this whole situation.
And that one person is the general manager, Joe Schoen. This entire delay, this whole back and forth over what's reportedly a 30 or 40-page contract, it all boils down to this. How are the roles of head coach John Harbaugh and general manager Joe Schoen going to coexist? Or maybe more accurately, how are they going to avoid colliding? This is the central sticking point that's holding everything up. And then, the Daily News drops this absolute bombshell that puts everything into perspective. According to their sources, this conflict shouldn't be a surprise to anyone inside the building. The expectation all along, from the moment the Giants started pursuing Harbaugh, was that for him to come aboard, something would have to change dramatically with the GM. The thinking was that Harbaugh would either want Joe Schoen gone completely, or at the absolute minimum, he'd want Schoen's power and influence significantly cut back in this new-look Giants organization. This isn't just a negotiation, it's a potential front office.
So what is it that Harbaugh is actually asking for? What does this power grab look like in practice? Well, let me tell you, it goes way beyond just wanting to pick the players on Sundays. We are talking about a fundamental redesign of the entire Giants organization, with the head coach sitting right at the center of everything. Now you have to understand, these demands aren't just coming out of thin air. Harbaugh isn't just trying to see what he can get away with. His entire perspective is shaped by his incredible 16-year run with the Baltimore Ravens. He operated within a system there that gave him immense influence and control, and while it worked, it produced a Super Bowl and consistent winners. So in his mind, he's not just asking for power for the sake of power, he's asking for the keys to replicate a structure that he knows, from firsthand experience, can win at the highest level. And when you look at the specific areas he wants influence over, you really start to grasp the scope of his demands. Roster moves? Okay, that's pretty standard for a top-tier coach. But look at the rest. The training staff? That means he wants say over the people responsible for player health and recovery. Public relations? That's about controlling the team's message to the media and the fans. And even video operations. We're talking about the department that films and cuts up practice and game tape. These are departments that, in a lot of NFL buildings, have their own leadership and often stay in place for years, regardless of who the coach is. Harbaugh wants his hands in everything. Let's just pause and think about how massive this is. This is not just a little tweak to the org chart. This is a potential tear down of the Giants' entire operational philosophy. For decades, the traditional NFL model has been a GM who handles personnel and a head coach who coaches the team, with a clear line between them. What Harbaugh is proposing is a move toward a coach-centric model, more like what we saw with legendary figures like Bill Belichick in New England. He's asking the Mara and Tisch families to basically hand him the keys to the franchise and trust him to rebuild it in his own image. That is a monumental decision for any owner to make. So you hear all that, and the natural next question is this deal dead? With such a fundamental disagreement about the very structure of the franchise, can they even find a way forward? Well, according to the insiders, the answer is still yes. So let's map out the path ahead. What needs to happen to finally, officially, get John Harbaugh in Giants blue? And hey, speaking of mapping things out, if you're looking for a fun and relaxing activity, check out our NFL-themed coloring books. They're perfect for kids and adults. You can find the link in the description or just scan the QR code on your screen. It's a great way to support the channel. The first thing to get out of the way is this. Despite all the drama, the high-stakes power plays, and the scary headlines, the overwhelming consensus from multiple, reliable reporters is that this deal is still going to happen. The feeling around the league isn't that the deal is falling apart. The feeling is that the issues they're sorting through are just incredibly complex and require a ton of time to get the language just right. They're complicated, but they're not seen as deal breakers. So here's the 3-step checklist to watch for. Step 1, and it's the biggest one, is they have to finalize that contract language. Every single detail about who reports to whom and who has final say on what needs to be ironed out and put in writing. Once that's done, then we get to step 2, the official announcement. The press conference, the jersey picture, all of it. Word is they're hoping that can happen as early as this coming Tuesday. And then finally, step 3 begins immediately. Harbaugh starts the process of building his coaching staff, which means meeting with the current assistants, but also, crucially, seeking permission to bring in his trusted guys from other teams, like his potential offensive coordinator, Todd Monk.
When you really step back and look at it, this whole delay, this whole contract negotiation, it's about so much more than just hiring a new coach. It's the first major battle over the future philosophy of the New York Giants franchise, and it really leaves us with the one question that matters more than any other. If John Harbaugh gets his way, if the Giants agree to this powerful coach-centric structure, will that be the thing that finally brings another Lombardi trophy back to New York? We'll have to wait and see.